The council chamber was vast, filled with light from 100 glowing pillars, and every seat was taken by alien leaders. Their voices clashed like thunder, sharp words echoing across the domed hall. They all spoke of one thing, one demand. One conclusion: the humans must die. For years, humanity had spread through the stars. Not the strongest, not the oldest, not the most advanced, but stubborn. They survived when others expected them to fall. They built when others thought them too weak. Now the council had decided that this stubborn race was too dangerous to keep alive. The room was heavy with anger. Creatures with scales, with fur, with glowing eyes beings from across the galaxy leaned forward in their seats, their voices filled with hate. Some hissed, some shouted, some pounded the tables before them. Words like eradicate, burn, and exterminate filled the air. And yet, in the very center of the chamber, one human sat quietly. No chains, no guards, no weapons. Just a simple black suit. He did not speak, did not argue. He only smiled. The smile was not wide, not mocking. It was small, calm, and strange. It was the kind of smile that made the powerful nervous, the kind of smile that said more than words ever could. An insectoid leader slammed one claw on the table. Why does he smile? Does he not understand? His species will die. A reptilian with golden armor growled. He knows nothing. Humans are children, this is the end of them. But deep in the chamber, others shifted uneasily. The smile was too steady, too sure. There was no fear in it. The human looked as though he had been here before, as though he already knew how this day would end. Whispers spread between the alien delegates. Some remembered old stories, stories they had buried as myth. Fleets that vanished when they went near Earth, wars that began against humans and ended in silence. Records erased, planets burned, ships swallowed whole. Each empire had heard different versions, but they all ended the same way. Those who hunted humans disappeared. Still, the loudest voices refused to believe lies. One shouted. Stories for children, another barked. They have no power, growled a third, but their eyes kept returning to the human. To that quiet smile, the chamber's air grew heavier. The glowing pillars seemed dimmer, as if the light itself was afraid. The silence between alien voices stretched longer each time, till even the most confident leaders began to hesitate before speaking. The human said nothing, moved little, but his presence filled the space like a shadow. At last, one alien commander, tall and armored, stepped forward from his seat. His voice was cold, filled with pride. Humans speak. Tell us why you smile. Do you think your kind will escape what is coming? The human lifted his eyes, slowly, calmly. His smile never faded. He did not answer. The commander sneered. You mock us. You think silence is strength? I command fleets that could burn your world in an hour. Still, the human gave no reply. He leaned back in his chair as if time itself belonged to him. Council chambers stirred. Fear began to mix with anger. Some leaders hissed at the commander to sit down. Others urged him to strike now, to prove humanity was nothing. But no one could look away from the human. His silence was louder than all their shouting. Finally, the human's eyes swept across the chamber, slowly, carefully, meeting the gaze of one alien after another. To each one, the smile seemed different. To some, it looked like pity. To others, like a warning. To a few, like the last thing they would ever see. The commander raised his arm as if to give an order, but his words caught in his throat. The human's smile widened just slightly. It was enough. The hall grew silent once more. Even the pillars of light flickered, as if unsure they should keep glowing. The council had gathered to decide the death of humanity they had expected. Shouts, pleas, anger, or threats. But they had not expected this. A single man, a single smile. A silence that spoke louder than war, and somewhere deep inside, even the strongest leaders began to wonder if they had already made their last mistake. The human remained still, silent, smiling, and the galaxy's most powerful rulers felt the first spark of fear. The council chamber stayed tense. The human's silent smile still hung in the air like a storm waiting to break. No one wanted to speak first, but silence could not last forever. Slowly, an elder alien with silver skin rose. From his seat, his voice was quiet, almost shaking. "I have seen this before," he said, "long ago. In my youth, when our fleets moved near human space, my people warned our leaders not to cross the line. They did not listen. They believed humans were weak. They sent ships to strike." The old alien's eyes narrowed as he remembered. The ships never returned. A wave of murmurs swept across the chamber. Some laughed, trying to push away the chill that ran through them. Others stared at the elder with unease. The human did not react. He only watched, still smiling. Another alien, this one with scales and glowing yellow eyes, leaned forward. "Old. Ghost stories. Every species has them. Fleets vanish. Wars are lost. Space is cruel. Do not blame humans for the shadows between stars." But a third voice spoke, low and rough. A beast-like alien with tusks said, "And yet, why are the stories always the same? Why is it always the humans? My grandfather spoke of them too. He said their worlds are cursed, that even gods fear to touch their soil." The chamber darkened. As memories returned, each delegate had heard something, stories buried in their homeworld archives. Warnings passed in whispers, fragments of reports cut short. One record told of an empire that sent 100 warships against Earth. They vanished. Not one returned. No wreckage, no signal, no final message. Just silence. Another spoke of soldiers landing on a human colony. They sent a single message before all contact was lost. They smile when they fight. A third record claimed a powerful species once enslaved early humans, chaining them like cattle. But the chains did not hold. Within one generation, the empire collapsed. No reason was ever given. The records ended in fire. The council chamber grew colder with every tale. Voices lowered and claws tapped nervously against stone tables. The delegates shifted in their seats, glancing again at the human. He had not moved. His calm face, his small smile, it seemed now like the echo of every story told. The insectoid delegate that had shouted before slammed his claw again, desperate to break the fear building in the room. "Enough. These are lies," legends told. "By weak races. Humans are flesh, like us. They bleed like us. They will burn like us." But even his anger sounded thin, like a blade striking stone and breaking. No one answered him. Instead, the old silver-skinned alien whispered, "Why do they never speak? Why do they smile?
Ow.
What do they know that we do not?" The human's eyes flickered in his direction, then moved on. Slowly, calmly, he did not blink. The chamber's tension grew unbearable. Some leaders began to argue in hushed voices. Should they still destroy humans? Should they risk the fate the old records described? Was the smile in the center of the room a bluff or a promise? One young alien, nervous and trembling, asked the question no one wanted to voice. What if humanity is not the danger? What if it is something they guard, something behind them? The words froze the room. The thought was terrible, but it made sense. Why else would fleets vanish? Why else would humans never seem afraid? Maybe it was not their strength alone. Maybe it was what they stood in front of. The humans smiled wider for the first time. Not much, just a fraction. Enough to make every heart in the chamber beat faster. The reptilian commander growled, his pride refusing to break. "Stories, rumors. Nothing more. Tomorrow we send fleets. We will test this human silence." But even as he spoke, his eyes betrayed him. They kept returning to the human. To that smile, to the mystery behind it. The chamber lights dimmed slightly, a random flicker, but many flinched as if it were a sign. The silence grew heavier. The old warnings had returned, crawling out of forgotten records, filling the minds of the council. With fear, the human leaned back, relaxed, as if the galaxy's most powerful rulers were nothing more than children arguing in front of him. His smile was not arrogance, it was certainty. The kind of certainty that comes from knowledge too large to explain. And in that moment, many in the room began to wonder if the decision to destroy humans had already doomed them all. The council wanted war. The human only smiled, and the old warnings whispered louder in the shadows of their minds. The chamber was restless. Whispers turned into arguments, and arguments into shouts. Some leaders wanted to wait to test the stories again before moving. Others demanded action, eager to prove humans were nothing more than flesh in the stars. The air was thick with fear, but also with pride. At last, one alien rose above the noise. He was tall, broad, armored in steel plates that gleamed under the chamber lights. His name was Commander Varen, known across the galaxy for his ruthless victories. His species had conquered dozens of worlds, and his fleets numbered in the thousands. When he spoke, the noise died. "I will do it," he said coldly. His voice was sharp as a blade. "I will strike at Earth itself. I will tear their colonies apart. I will show you all that humans are nothing but fragile pretenders." And he cheered at his words. He pounded tables, roared approval, desperate for someone to break the tension of the human's silent smile. Pride burned brighter than fear. If Varen could destroy Earth, the old warnings would finally die. But not all shared the cheer. A few delegates leaned back, uneasy. Their eyes slid to the human at the center of the room. He had not moved. His smile had not changed. His calm was more powerful than Varan's roar. The commander pointed a clawed finger at him. "Do you hear me, human? Your kind will burn before the next star cycle ends. I will lead the fleets myself. And when I return, I will carry your ashes into this chamber." The human lifted his eyes, slowly. His smile grew not wide, not cruel, but certain. He gave no reply, no words, no defense. Varan snarled. "Think silence makes you strong? You think smiling will save your world?" He laughed, sharp and cold. "Then watch as I erase it." He raised his wristcom, pressing a command. Far above the council world, his fleet waited in orbit, engines burning, weapons armed. At his order, they would move. They would jump to Earth's star, strike its defenses, and end humanity. But something happened. The wristcom flickered. The lights on it dimmed. Static filled the chamber's cum feeds. The holograms showing fleet positions twisted, then blinked. Into black. Varan's eyes widened. He pressed again. Nothing. He barked orders into the air, calling for his ships. Silence answered him. The chamber stirred. Delegates leaned forward, whispers spreading like fire. "Something was wrong," Varan shouted. "Report. Fleet command. Answer." His voice grew desperate. "This is Varan. Respond." Still nothing. The silence grew heavier, colder. It was not the silence of broken machines. It was deeper, more final than. Without a sound, the chamber's main display flickered to life. It showed a view from orbit. Dozens of warships hung above the planet. Lights across their hulls were dead. Engines cold. Weapons silent. They were not destroyed. They were not damaged. They were simply frozen. As if caught in invisible chains, gasps filled the chamber. Some shouted in panic. Others trembled. A few stared at the human, their fear plain on their faces. The man still smiled. He leaned back in his chair, calm, as though this moment had always been waiting. Varan roared with rage. "What is this trick? What have you done?" He slammed his fists on the table, but his voice shook with fear. The human tilted his head, almost curious. At last, for the first time, he spoke. His voice was low, steady, simple. They should not have come. The words echoed through the chamber, soft but heavy, pressing against every heart. The delegates froze. The silence after those words was worse than the silence before. Varan stepped back, his confidence cracking. His fleets, his pride, his power were nothing. Dozens of ships, entire armies had been taken in an instant. He did not understand how. None of them did. And the human smiled again, as if to say this was only the beginning. The chamber had wanted proof. They had it. And the proof was far worse than the old warnings. The council had declared humanity must die. But humanity had not lifted a hand, had not fired a weapon. had not raised a shield. They had only smiled, and fleets vanished into silence. The chamber was no longer filled with anger. It was filled with fear. The frozen warships hung above the planet like broken statues, lifeless in the void. The strongest fleet commander in the council had been silenced in front of everyone. No one could explain how. Delegates whispered frantically. Some insisted it was a trick, a hidden weapon placed in orbit. Others said it was human sabotage. A few, their voices trembling, whispered the one word no one wanted to believe. Dash trap. Commander Veron slammed his fists again. His armor clattered as he roared. This is a malfunction. My ships are not weak. Someone has hacked the systems. But his words were hollow. Everyone had seen the truth. The fleet had not exploded. It had not been hacked. It had been caught. The council's grand screens flickered once more. A new image appeared. Not from the fleets. Not from the chamber. From somewhere far, far away. A dark region of space, unknown. It's unmarked on any star map. Lines glowed faintly within its circles upon circles, like nets thrown across the stars. They pulsed once, then again, as if alive. One delegate gasped. That is a defense field. Another shook his head violently. Possible. No species has ever built a defense net across light years. The elder with silver skin whispered, humans have. The chamber erupted into chaos. Delegates shouted, screamed, argued. The insectoid slammed its claws, demanding war still. The reptilian commander's scales shimmered with fear, his voice breaking as he said, "We should not have come here." His smile was soft, almost patient. He seemed like a teacher waiting for children to learn a painful lesson. At last, one brave delegate asked, voice shaking, "What is it? What have you done to the fleets?" The human's eyes met his, steady and calm. His answer was quiet. "We did nothing. They walked into the net. It was already waiting." The words struck harder than any weapon. Already waiting. The trap had not been made today. It had not been built for Veron's fleet. It had been there long before, stretching. Across the stars, hidden in the dark, unseen by any alien eye, panic rippled across the chamber. If humanity had built such a net, how long had it been there? How many ships had already been caught, erased without a trace? Could the old warnings, the vanished fleets, the broken empires, all be explained by this? The human's smile gave. The answer, without words, Veron's fury broke into fear. He shouted again, but this time his voice cracked. "Release them. Do you hear me, human? Release my fleets." The man tilted his head. For a long moment, he said nothing, and he spoke once more. "You came to kill us. Why would we release you?" The chamber fell into silence again. His words were not shouted. They were not cruel. They were simple, logical, undeniable. Some delegates shifted in their seats, claws tapping nervously, eyes darting to the exits, but none dared leave. It was as if the doors themselves were watching. The insectoid delegate hissed in panic. "This is wrong. This is not natural. No young species could do this. What power do they serve?" The human's smile widened just slightly, his eyes sharp now. "We serve no one." The words dropped like stones into the chamber. Some could not breathe. Others felt their pride collapse. If the humans served no master, then the trap was their own creation. The elder spoke again, voice quiet but steady. "I told you. We were warned. The humans do not need to shout, do not need to fight. They wait. And when you cross their line, you vanish." The screens flickered once more. The image changed from the glowing nets to a view of Earth. Blue. Oceans, Greenland, white clouds, so peaceful, so ordinary. Yet behind that calm world, invisible to the eye, stretched the weapon that had silenced entire fleets. The human's smile softened. Almost kind now, though it made the fear worse. He looked at the image and then back to the council. He warned, "You not to come too close?" The silence that followed was unbearable. Even the boldest commanders could not meet his eyes. For the first time, they felt as if humanity had not just survived among the stars, it had prepared for this moment. Patiently, silently, for centuries, and now the trap was revealed. The chamber was no longer a council of strength. It was a cage of fear. The glowing image of Earth faded from the screens, but its memory hung in every mind. The fleets frozen above the planet were a reminder that nothing in the galaxy was safe. From human traps, the delegates shifted uneasily. Some clawed at their tables, others whispered prayers in their strange tongues. For the first time, the galaxy's rulers looked less like leaders and more like frightened animals cornered in the dark. One of them finally broke the silence. A small, feathered alien with trembling wings spoke in a thin voice. "We must negotiate. We cannot win against that. If we strike again, we will vanish like the others." Across the room, the insectoid delegate slammed its claws down. "Weakness, always weakness. They trick us with shadows. They smile and do nothing, and you all bow before them." Its eyes burned with desperation, but its words rang hollow. The old silver-skinned elder whispered, "It is not weakness, too. Fear the abyss. The humans built a net so wide we never saw it. Tell me, insect, if you strike again, what will you do when your fleets vanish into silence? Will you scream or smile like them?" The insectoid recoiled, clicking its mandibles. Angrily, but no words came. The truth cut too deep. Meanwhile, Commander Veron stood silent at his seat. His armored claws tapped the table again and again, but his eyes no longer shone with pride. They shone with confusion, with fear. His fleets, his glory were nothing more than empty shells now. Another delegate, one with long tendrils that shifted like snakes, leaned forward. Its voice was soft, trembling. "Do you not feel it? Look at him. Look at the human. He does not need to threaten us. He does not need to speak. He waits, and we," the tendrils curled tighter around its body, "we are breaking ourselves apart." Every gaze turned once again to the human at the center. He had not moved since he spoke last. His body was still, his hands folded, his face calm. The smile remained. It was not the smile of victory, not the smile of cruelty. It was the smile of someone who already knew the end. One delegate could not take it anymore. A reptilian leader slammed his tail against the floor, his scales rippling with fear. "Enough. Tell us what you want, human. Speak your demands. What price must we pay to survive this trap?" For the first time, the human shifted. Slowly, very slowly, he leaned forward. His smile grew sharper, not cruel, but colder. He said nothing. The silence was worse than any demand. A demand could be negotiated. Silence was final. Silence meant there would be no bargain. The chamber cracked further. Some begged for peace. "Send envoys," one cried. "Apologize. Withdraw fleets. Let us live." Others shouted for war. "We cannot bow to one world." A voice roared, "If we all strike together, even their nets will fail." But those words did not sound strong anymore. They sounded like children shouting in the dark, pretending not to fear the monster they could not see. The elder rose once more, his silver skin glowing faintly in the pillar light. His voice carried across the chamber. "Do you not see? It is already too late. The moment the human entered this hall, it was too late. The moment his fleets did not come, it was too late. The moment he smiled, it was too late." His words sank into every heart. For the first time, even the boldest commanders lowered their eyes. The human watched them break. His smile softened again, almost gentle, though it burned more than fire. He spoke just for words. "You came too far." The chamber froze. Some delegates shivered. Others whispered to themselves, as if repeating the words could make sense. Of them, fear had replaced anger. Panic had replaced pride. No one looked at each other anymore. They only looked at the human. And yet, somewhere deep in the chamber, another danger grew. Pride was not dead in every heart. Some still wanted to resist, even if it meant death. Their fear would not turn into peace, it would turn into desperation. The room was splitting apart, torn between those who wanted to beg and those who wanted to strike. But none could escape the truth. Every choice they made now would happen. Under the human's silent smile, the galaxy's most powerful leaders had gathered to destroy a race. Now they were fighting among themselves, too afraid to even speak of victory, and the human simply waited, as if time itself already belonged to him. The council chamber felt smaller now, as if the walls themselves were pressing in. The air was heavy, thick with the fear of rulers who no longer felt like rulers. They had come together to end humanity, but now they could not even end their own arguments. Some shouted still, desperate. Others begged for silence, for caution. Every voice was weaker than before. The fear of the human smile crushed them more than any weapon could. At last, the insectoid delegate hissed again, furious and trembling. Enough of this game, human. You sit here and say little. You smile. You watch. If you mean to kill us, then kill us. If you mean to spare us, then say so. The human tilted his head, calm as ever. His eyes swept across the chamber. For the first time, his smile faded. Not completely, but enough for every leader to feel their hearts grow colder. When he spoke, his words were slow, steady, and heavy. We warned you not to come too close. The words struck like stone, and the delegates shivered. Some hissed in fear. Others shook their heads, denying what they had heard before, but the human went on. You wanted to know why fleets vanish? You wanted to know why wars against us end in silence? It is not because we are stronger than you. The chamber froze. The words were strange, confusing, impossible, not stronger. Then what? The human leaned forward, his voice low but sharp. It is because we guard something. Older than your councils, older than your empires. It's something you were never meant to touch. The chamber erupted with noise. Delegates shouted, demanded answers. Some cried out in fear, others in disbelief. The reptilian leader snarled, lies. No world holds such secrets. No young species could guard something older than us. But the elder, with silver skin, whispered, older than us. Older than all. His voice trembled with memory, with stories buried in history. The human did not argue. He did not raise his voice. He let the chamber roar until it fell quiet again. Then he spoke one sentence more. You stepped too close to the gate. The silence that followed was worse than screaming. Delegates looked at each other, eyes wide, voices trapped in their throats. A gate. The word carried weight, mystery, and terror. What gate? One delegate whispered. The human smile returned, faint and cold. The one that should never open. No one breathed. The council chamber felt like a tomb. For years, for centuries, humanity had been dismissed as weak, as reckless as foolish. But now, in a few simple words, the truth began to bloom like poison in the hearts of the galaxy's rulers. Humanity was not just defending itself. Humanity was defending the galaxy from something else. Some delegates leaned back, their faces pale, their bodies trembling. They understood even if they did not want to believe. Others shook their heads violently, refusing to accept it. Commander. Veron stood once more, his voice shaking with anger and fear mixed together. You expect us to believe this? You gate a secret weapon hidden by humans? You lie to frighten us? You trap our fleets with tricks, and now you speak riddles? The human's eyes locked on him. For a long moment nothing was said. Then the man whispered, Do you want me to show you? The chamber froze. Veron's voice broke. He wanted to answer, to roar, to prove strength, but no sound came. He sank back into his seat, his armor heavy as stone. The human leaned back once more, his face calm, his smile soft. We never asked for war. We never wanted it. But we will never let you open the gate. The chamber trembled with whispers. Never let us open it. Some clutched at their chests. Some lowered their heads. And some, stubborn and blind, clenched their fists tighter. The humans' words were simple, but their weight was unbearable. Humanity was not fighting for territory, not fighting for power. They were fighting for something hidden, something locked away, something terrible, and the galaxy's leaders realized with dread that they had come far too close to a truth they were never meant to find. The smile returned, soft but merciless. And in that moment, the chamber knew this was not just war, this was warning. The chamber was breaking apart. The weight of the humans' words pressed down on every delegate, heavier than any chain. The gate, the phrase echoed in their minds, filling them with questions they did not want answered. Some could not hold themselves together any longer. Feathered delegate fell to his knees, wings trembling. His voice cracked as he cried, "We cannot fight them. We cannot fight what they guard. Let us beg for peace before the net closes on us all." Others hissed at him, disgusted. The insectoid slammed its claws again, rage spilling out like venom. "Cowards, you bow before shadows. The humans lie to us, and you shake like children. They guard something, then it must be power, and we should take it for ourselves." And the words struck sparks. The chamber exploded into chaos. Some shouted. For peace, their voices shaking with desperation. Others screamed for war, their fear twisted into anger. Claws pounded tables, tails lashed against the floor, wings flapped in panic. The council was no longer one voice. It was a storm tearing itself apart. Commander Varen rose again, towering, his armor gleaming under the pale light. His eyes burned with fury, but behind the fire was fear. He pointed at the human. "Not be fooled. This is their game. They speak of gates and traps, but it is all a trick to keep us weak. We must strike together all our fleets, all our armies, and end them before they end us." Some roared in agreement, desperate to hold on to the illusion of strength. They clung to Varan's words because the alternative was too frightening. To admit humans spoke the truth was to admit they had already lost, but others shook their heads. The elder with silver skin rose again, his voice steady despite his trembling hands. "Do you not see? His fleets are frozen, his words are calm. He does not need to lie. The humans do not beg us for peace. They do not bargain. They do not threaten. They wait, they smile. And still, you cannot see the truth." The chamber fell into half silence, half madness. Delegates shouted over each other. Some begged for mercy. Some demanded war. The sound was unbearable. Through it all, the human remained, seated. His smile never faded. His eyes moved from one delegate to another, watching, studying, waiting. He looked not like a prisoner, but like a judge, silent as the council destroyed itself. One reptilian leader, scales glittering, finally snapped. He slammed his claws into the table so hard, the stone cracked. His voice thundered through the chamber. "We waste time. This human mocks us. If he holds a secret, we will drag it out of him. Guards." But no guards moved, not one. They stood at the edges of the chamber, frozen like Varan's fleets, their eyes empty, their comes silent. A shiver ran through the delegates as they realized there was no one to call. The human rose, slowly, deliberately. His chair creaked in the silence. For the first time since entering the chamber, he stood. He was not tall, compared to many of the aliens. Not armored, not armed. But his presence filled the room like a tide. His smile faded at last. His voice was soft. But it cut through the noise like a blade. "You wanted humans dead." The chamber froze. Every word was heavy, final. "You shouted for our end. You planned to burn our worlds." And yet he looked at them, one by one, his gaze unshaken. "You sit here now, trembling before a man with no chains." No one breathed. His eyes locked on Varan, whose fists were clenched, whose armor seemed suddenly far too heavy. The human's voice grew colder. "You wanted us gone? You see why that will never happen?" The chamber lights flickered once, then steadied. But the sound outside, low, deep, distant, made the walls tremble. It was not thunder. It was not ships. It was something larger. Something that made even the strongest delegates' hearts seize in terror. Some cried out. Others covered their faces. A few fell silent, too afraid to move, and the human smiled once more. The smallest smile yet, but it was sharper than any weapon the council had broken. Half of them begged for peace, half of them screamed for war. None of them had control anymore, and the human, standing alone in the center, held the chamber in silence. The chamber had fallen silent. For the first time in hours, no one shouted. No one struck the tables, no one moved. The only sound was the low hum that still echoed beyond the walls, the sound that did not belong to any ship they knew. The human stood in the center, calm, steady. His eyes passed across the broken council, watching them as if weighing each of their lives in his mind. Some lowered their heads, unable to meet his gaze. Others stared back with hatred, but even their anger trembled. "You wished for our death," the human said at last, his voice quiet, steady. "You dreamed of burning Earth, of silencing us. But you do not understand. Humanity does not stand alone." He paused. His words sank into the chamber like falling stones into a dark ocean. "We guard what you cannot face. We walk where you cannot survive. You call us dangerous because you sense what waits behind us. And you are right. We are dangerous not because of our weapons. It's not because of our numbers, but because we have seen the gate and we do not look away." The delegates shifted uncomfortably, their bodies shaking with unease. The human took a step closer to the tables. Every movement was measured, controlled. "You think of us as enemies. You whisper of destroying us. But hear this. If you strike at us, if you move against us, you will not find Earth's end. You will find your own." The reptilian leader hissed through his teeth, trying to hold on to some sense of control. "Empty words. You try to frighten us with shadows." The human's smile returned, faint, almost gentle. "Shadows." He shook his head slowly. "No, not shadows, not tricks. I am here to warn you. It's nothing more." His eyes lifted to the ceiling, as though listening to something beyond. The delegates followed his gaze, their fear deepening. The hum outside grew louder, vibrating through the stone floor until the very chamber seemed to tremble under its weight. One insectoid delegate shrieked suddenly, claws scraping against the floor. "What is it? What is that sound?" The human looked back down at them, his calm gaze unmoving. "That," he said softly, "is the reminder." Gasps rippled through the room. Some clutched at their translators as if they had misheard. Others froze in their seats. "The reminder of what you tried to forget," the human continued. "Long before your council rose, long before your fleets filled the stars, there were things older, hungrier, patient, beyond your measure. We guard the lock that keeps them waiting. We guard the silence at the edge of your galaxy. That is our burden. That is why you fear us." He leaned forward slightly, his voice low, his words sharp as ice. "And that is why you cannot kill us. If you break us, you break the lock. And then everything ends. Not just Earth, not just humans, but you, your children, your worlds, your skies. All of it." The chamber was deathly quiet. No one argued. No one dared. Even Commander Varen, who had sworn to destroy the humans, had no words. His fist shook at his sides, but his voice was gone. The human let the silence stretch, long and heavy. Then he straightened. "I came here not as a conqueror, not as a prisoner. I came as a reminder. You do not have to believe me. You do not even have to respect me. But you will remember me. Every time you gather here, every time you look to the stars, you will hear the silence of this chamber end. You will remember the human who smiled." He turned. Slowly, he walked toward the great doors. The guards, frozen since the moment he arrived, now stepped aside, moving without command. The massive doors opened on their own, light spilling into the chamber. The human paused at the threshold. Without turning back, he spoke one last time. "Pray you never hear the gate open." Then he walked into the light, and the doors closed. Behind him, inside the chamber, the council sat in silence. No one moved. No one spoke. The sound outside had faded, but its memory still pressed down on them, heavy as a mountain. They all wanted humans dead once, but now none of them dared to finish that thought. And somewhere in the darkness between the stars, something shifted, something vast, something waiting guarded by Earth's silent smile.